Hi everyone, welcome back to Sylvan's Way and my Saturday series, Along the Forest Path, where we slow down and explore tarot and oracle decks in a more reflective way. Today, we're doing an artist spotlight on Lyn Thurman, and we're going to walk through all the decks that I have of hers and how I have worked with them over time. So let's begin. Over time, I have collected several of Lyn's decks, not just the cards themselves, but also the expanded printed guidebooks she later released. And what's interesting is that when you line them up together, you can actually see an evolution from emotional depth to reflection, to sovereignty, to expressive defiance. Lyn has successfully funded multiple decks through Kickstarter, building a very cohesive body of work rooted in digital collage and archetypical symbolism. Her decks aren't Rider-Waite-Smith clones. They're not scenic storybooks. They're definitely interpretive, archetypical, and symbol-driven decks. And as someone who studies decks deeply, journals on them, and values strong guidebooks, I really appreciate her philosophy carries across all of her projects, even as the tone shifts from one to the next. When you collect multiple decks from one creator, you start seeing their voice emerge, and that's what we're exploring here today. In addition to the decks I'm sharing today, Lyn has also created other oracle and specialty decks over the years, including animal and rune-inspired projects, which further show her commitment to archetypical and symbolism. But today, I'm going to be focusing on these decks that I personally own and have spent time with. So in the context of that in mind, let's look at these decks themselves, starting with the packaging. So for the packaging across all of her projects, the production quality is very consistently strong. All of these decks have sturdy guide boxes that are very thoughtfully designed and really present a cohesive presentation across all of her decks. For the guidebooks that come with these decks, what you get is this little foldable pamphlet that just gives you the basic information of what the card means. And they do include a UR code or whatever it's called, or QR code that you can scan and download the full PDF guidebook for these decks. But I know most people, this is all they really need. These small little pamphlets that give you the base information. I know there's a lot of people who read intuitively. As far as what's different is that the Quiet Rebel Oracle does come with a fully expanded guidebook. So that's the only one that does come with a full guidebook. Otherwise, you get these little pamphlets with a QR code that you can scan and get the full guidebook. But if you're anything like me, I really like expanded guidebooks. So she has released expanded guidebooks that you can get from Amazon that is her full guidebook. So this is the guidebook that if you scan the QR code, you get it in PDF form, but if you want the actual book itself, you can get the book. And you know, I love books. I love fully expanded books. So I went and I got all of the guidebooks for these decks because I like to read guidebooks. So these guidebooks are fantastic. They include spread ideas. They include details about the actual cards. It gives you the traditional names of them. It gives you core messages, upright reverse meanings, truth bombs, all sorts of fun stuff that gives you that detailed information about the cards. And this is what I really like. So of course, I had to get these guides. So I went and got all the guides for these decks. Okay, next, let's look at the decks I have of hers and do a quick flip through of each. So we begin with the Wisdom of the Depths Tarot. This deck was originally funded in 2021 with a second edition successfully funded in May of 2023. This deck feels like the emotional foundation of her body of work. The palette is ocean, deep indigos, teals, sea greens, and the imagery feels layered and submerged. And when I read with this deck, it feels like diving. It leans into subconscious exploration, shadow work, and emotional excavation. This is the deck I reach for when I'm asking, what's beneath the reaction? What is the truth under the surface? What am I not fully acknowledging? It's very immersive and introspective, and the expanded printed guide supports the depth beautifully. So this is the inner ocean phase of her creative arc. So let's look at each one of these cards individually. Next, we move to the Echoes Through Time Tarot. And this deck was funded on Kickstarter in July of 2024. And here the emotional tone shifts. Visually, this deck leans into sepia tones, vintage, archetypal textures. It feels reflective and very historical. Where depths is emotional and fluid, echoes is contemplative and narrative. It asks, where did this pattern begin? What story am I carrying forward? What echoes are shaping the present moment? This deck reads slower, encouraging context rather than excavation like the last ones. So you can see where the evolution is moving from feeling into actual story with this deck. So let's take a flip through so that you can see all the cards in this gorgeous deck.
Through the noise, we found our voice. In the echoes, we made our choice. No looking back, we're here to stay. Together we will light the way. Feel the echoes in the air. Take my hand, we'll go anywhere. In the sound, we're never lost. We'll rise no matter the cost. These are the echoes, echoes of us. In the sound we put our trust. No more silence, no more fear. These are the echoes that brought us here. These are the echoes, echoes of us. In the sound we put our trust. No more silence, no more fear. These are the echoes that brought us here. In the shadows, we're not alone. In these echoes, we found our home. Through every heartbeat, through every tear, the echoes guide us loud and clear. Feel the echoes in the air. Take my hand, we'll go anywhere. In the sound, we're never lost. We'll rise no matter the cost. These are the echoes, echoes of us. In the sound we put our trust.
Then in November of 2024, she funded the Quiet Rebel Oracle. And this is where the tone becomes more direct. The Quiet Rebel Oracle distills themes of sovereignty, self-trust, I can't ever say the word, autonomy, and the boundaries into focused messages. And as you guys know, I love pulling oracle cards at the end of a reading as a takeaway from affirmations. So I was so excited to get this deck. I love this deck. This deck works beautifully in that role. It clarifies, it reinforces, it grounds the insight, and it feels like a clear outward turn and less reflective and more assertion, I would say. So let's take a look at these decks. And I noticed on the other ones, I forgot to show you the backs. So these are the backs of this one. In May of 2025, Lyn was on a roll and she funded the Quiet Rebel Tarot. And again, hitting it out of the ballpark with this one. This feels like a full expansion of the Oracle's philosophy that she just did into a complete tarot system. The imagery really becomes more portrait driven and identity focused. The deck, it really speaks so plainly. It asks, where are you shrinking? Where do you need further boundaries? Who are you becoming? And are you allowing it? The energy here is very grounded and self-possessed. And when you look at the timeline, it feels like a natural progression from depth from her first one to reflection in her second one, and then into personal power with these last two. So let's flip through it and take a look at them. And these are the backs, very similar to the other one. And finally, the newest addition to my collection, the Misfit Divas Oracular Spectacular, which I received from Kickstarter this month in February of 2026. This one, the tone shifts once again. It is archetypical but expressive. It's very theatrical, personality forward. It still carries Lyn's signature collage style, but emotionally, it feels very like a celebration. If Quiet Rebel says claim your sovereignty, Misfit Diva says and celebrate your uniqueness while you're at it. It feels like the expressive accumulation of the total arc of all of her decks that she has put together. So let's flip through these so you can take a look at them as well. So those are all the decks I have of Lyn's. And when you lay these out chronologically, it goes from the emotional excavation to narrative reflection to sovereignty distilled to identity expanded to archetypical celebration. Maybe this was accidental, but when I feel like you can really feel this outward movement from internal waters to reflective story to self definition to expressive confidence. Lyn took us from depth to defiance with all of her decks. And before we close, I wanted to briefly talk about who I think these decks are best suited for. So if you love archetype-driven decks, if you enjoyed layer symbolism rather than literal scenic storytelling, if you journal with your cards and like to sit with them over time, Lyn's work will likely resonate with you. Specifically, the wisdom of the depths is wonderful for shadow work and emotional excavation. Echoes through time suits reflective pattern tracking readings. The quiet rebel is ideal for sovereignty, boundaries, identity work. And the misfit divas is perfect for creative, archetypical self expression. So if you prefer a very traditional Rider-Waite Smith structure with like clear narrative scenes, these might feel more interpretive and extract. And that's not a flaw. It's simply a different style of reading. But if you like this kind, I think that you will love Lyn's decks. When I sit back and look at her body of work as a whole, independent creators like Lyn Thurman remind me that tarot is a living, evolving art form. When you follow an artist across multiple projects, you're not just collecting their decks, you're witnessing their growth. And I think that's something very special. If you enjoyed the spotlight and would like to see more features on independent creators, go ahead and give this video a like. It really does help this channel. I'd also love to know in the comments which one of Lyn's decks really resonates with you the most, and also if there's another artist you'd like me to explore. And if you like slow, thoughtful deck studies like this, you're always welcome to subscribe and join me here on Saturdays. Thank you for walking this forest path with me today. Until next time, trust your depths and stand in your truth. I appreciate you. I'll see you soon. Bye.